Smith, if you could lead us in the invocation of pledge, please.
Father, thank you for this day that's been given. For all the citizens of Grayson County that have damage from storm, that maybe still don't have power. We pray for each one of those to be with them this time. Be with our board of supervisors tonight if they conduct the business of the county. For it's in your name we pray.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, remind everyone of the quorum that's on the back of the agenda. We do need to make a slight change, so this time I would entertain a motion to amend the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion, we remove the closed session from the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
First thing on the docket is a public hearing. Public hearing to receive public comment pursuant to 33.2-916 Code of Virginia to consider a section of discontinued Route 660 from in-state maintenance Route 925 to Route 660, a distance of 0.05 miles.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to go on public hearing.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to go into public hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Are y'all familiar with it, or you want to read?
Go ahead, you're right there. No one's on that.
Nope.
So, based on the fact that we've advertised and we've not received any public comment, no one has called me to give me any public comment. We are required, based upon the letter from VDOT, which was provided to the Board of Supervisors on January 30th. They are requesting from a Grayson County landowner to purchase surplus right-of-way from the Virginia Department of Transportation from the end of Route 925, which is Edwards Lane, to Route 660, which is Carsonsville. VDOT hereby requests Grayson County abandon the segment of discontinued Route 660, described as follows pursuant to the authority granted by the Board of Supervisors in Section 33.2-915 of the Code of Virginia. So it's from the end of state maintenance Route 925 to Route 660, 0.05 miles, being a portion of 660, which was a secondary system of state highways. It was discontinued from the secondary system on October the 9th, 1990. Designed as a Section 11 of the highway system changes related to VDOT project 0660-038-203 C501. And we have an attached script sketch showing you exactly where that section of this continued segment is at. Does anyone else have questions about why we're doing this?
We're good.
All right. So being that there's no public hearing or public comment, we have a resolution. Closed session.
This time I'd entertain a motion to go out, come out of the public hearing.
So
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Does this require any action on our part tonight
we do have a
to
resolution.
approve the resolution? I think we've been waiting the reading of the resolution. Is everybody okay with that? Entertain a motion to approve the resolution for the closing of the road.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and second. Any discussion?
I'll just make one comment. The gentleman, I think, is entertaining purchasing property or acquiring the property, has made a lot of improvements to the land he already has along top of the hill, cleaning brush, and daily this gentleman goes down the hill and picks up trash every morning. And for almost, I guess, 3/4 of a mile of 660. So I think this will benefit to the county.
Any other discussion? This requires a roll call vote. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Roll call vote. Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Ash?
Aye.
Mr. Cornett?
Aye.
Thompson?
Aye.
I'm also aye. Okay, at this time, we have Virginia Department of Transportation to give us an update on the right-of-way cleanup.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. I'm James Schwartz. I'm the residency administrator in Woodville, and of course I brought Mark with me as our resident engineer. Well, I'm going to apologize for not being able to make it to some meetings. It's I'll say it's been a tough year, so to say the least. So we'll just go through this, and then if you guys have any questions, we'll go through. So, I guess the introduction, but the first slide there about Hurricane Helene, just a little bit of an update. Altogether, we had 155 permanent repair sites, and out of those, 120 of those are complete. There's 35 remaining. So most of that work that's remaining is there's a few pipe that still need to be put in, and we still have some slow failures that we need to address, and the majority of the sites really just need a pavement overlay or a guardrail installed. Now, they have started to install guardrail, and so they're working on that. Obviously, with pavement overlay, we're going to have to wait until temperatures get on there, so, and the weather gets like that. Closed routes that we still have, Harding Road, we're waiting on the pipe. And as soon as we have the pipe in place, we'll mobilize contractor to get it fixed. Route 21, down near the North Carolina line, we have a contractor working there to stabilize the slope. That's down to one lane. That project has progressed a lot slower than what we thought. We thought it would end at the end of January, just due to the weather. They've had pumps and grout, and of course the temperatures and things have really slowed that down. So, but they're working to finish that up. That's coming pretty soon. So, the tree trimming that's going on around the county, that contract has been managed out of the district roadside. They estimate that there's 2 to 4 weeks of work that remain that in good weather. So I would anticipate it being a little longer than that, until we get some good weather. They have, right now, the current operation has moved. I think we've moved everything from stabilized gravel roads, moved off of those, and some of the rural rustics, which surface treated routes, we've moved them off of those. We're having issues with freeze and thaw and those big trucks and stuff. We're having some issues with those. So they're working. They're supposed to be mobilized only on hard surface roads and asphalt roads this time. There's currently 15 cut crews working throughout the county. There's 4 cleanup crews working, and of course numerous haul trucks. And as the work begins to be completed, they're starting to demobilize those, and that number is getting smaller and smaller. I think initially they started out with maybe 43 crews, so I'm down to 15 or 19 now. So there's been a lot of question about those crews and some of the things that they've been coded. So they were instructed in the scope of work to take care of any uprooted trees, any trees that were leaning 30 degrees or more toward a target, and trees with canopy damage. I'm sure, I know, we've heard that they've been off the right of way and they've been cutting some things and maybe taking some citizens' logs or something that they've had. So what they've been doing is whenever we get those requests or whenever those complaints come in, they've been addressing the contractor. They'll meet with them, go over the scope of work with them again. If that happens again, that contractor is asked to leave. So that's how that's being handled. So this, I'm looking at if you all have questions with that or with Hurricane Helene stuff that you want to involve.
If we do get questions from folks in the county about it, who can we direct them?
But you can contact our office.
Okay.
And then we can get it to the
Okay,
Hurricane business.
because I'm sorry.
No, I just want that number again, Lois.
So our number, it's 276-228-2154, and that's to the board agency office. It may be on the front of that.
It's on the second page.
Oh, okay. That's you.
Before we do move on, I know there's been some hiccups, like you said, some issues that popped up, but I think in light of this recent ice storm, I'd kind of hate to know what been left behind from this ice storm. It's just very, if it hadn't been.
While the crews are still here, can they pick up some of this stuff that was caused from the ice storm?
Well, I think that gets a little tricky because with this contractor is a federalized contract. So this event, at this time, hasn't been declared a federal emergency. So it's a little different. So we'll probably be looking to, I actually asked that question this morning to our district staff and was asking him, what are we going to do? Because I know we have all these crews here. It'd be nice if they could get it, but however, I know the contract doesn't align for that. So maybe that we're looking at maybe utilizing a different contractor or something.
So I asked the state the same question today. We got the crews here right now. Is there not the possibility of the state just adding on to this contract, or we do this all the time. If there's an open contract, why we couldn't tag on a little bit to help us do this? And also, I would think if the state has a little bit of surplus, that maybe we could help along with getting some of our, it is helpful to have some of these trees cut out from around our lines, so if they could do that as well. I think it'd certainly be a big deal to this county, considering this is the second time in a short amount of time where 100% of the county is losing power. So anyway, anything you can do to help us with that, I appreciate it.
Okay.
And I would think, it's especially some of the work that's ahead of them that they've not completed yet. This was stuff they were going to be cutting anyway, so it's more or less.
Yeah.
Mother Nature's pushed it out in front of them, helped them a little bit,
That's exactly what I was thinking, because if they would have, and I'm not blaming or anything, because we didn't know the ice storm, we didn't project that, but there's limbs in the road that appear to be like, well, why didn't they cut that tree when they come down through here and cut that one that was 20 feet back behind it? So it should be part of the same in that regard, should it not?
Right. Are you saying
If they were cleaning the roadways and they didn't clean it thoroughly, and then the ice storm comes, and now we've got probably even as many trees in the roadways as we had with Helene, it would seem to be that would still be part of the same clean. If I sweep your floor and I don't get it all up, and you've paid me to sweep the floor, and I leave a bunch of garbage, and I'm still sweeping, you could say, hey, well, you missed a spot over here,
Right.
kind of thing. Is that fair?
Yes, but then, it's two different events. So it just gets tricky as far as the contract goes, and I'll be honest with you, the federalized contract, you pay more for that because you follow like Davis-Bacon Act. So
Bureaucracy is what you're saying, I think. It's the bureaucracy involved is probably not that simple as
Yes.
us saying go back and resweep.
However, I mean, you know, what Mr. Boyer said, I mean, we could potentially maybe come back to this contract, you know, maybe we can put another contract together. I mean, I'm sure it's something we can look at and utilize the same contractor. I mean, it's here, we just have to keep it separate from the hurricane lane versus the ice
Does it
storm.
require a federal designation of emergency for this, for you guys to get the funding to do this?
To have this contractor pick it up, is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, is there something we could do from the county standpoint, like we could declare a state of emergency from the ice storm that we had, but I mean, not getting any county dollars to clean it up, so.
Yeah, I don't know that I have an answer to that, or I don't know how much that.
I mean, this is a once in a lifetime to have these cleaning crews out here,
It is.
and so, okay.
So, I mean, I think for the discussion, I mean, I can take this back and obviously contact them and say, look, we have these crews in the area, let's try to get all this cleaned up, because, I mean, honestly, we don't have the resources to.
Well, the crews that have been cleaning up, around our property, they're on their third trip back down the road. So, but on the fourth trip, they'll find some more stuff too.
Well, and along those lines, I was curious how this process works when they go through a roadway. I guess the cut crews and the cleanup crews are responsible for saying, yeah, this road's done. Or is there actually like, does that contractor have some sort of inspection process where they go through and they say, this road's done, check it off the list, we're not coming back?
Yeah, so they were given a list of routes that obviously had damage, and then they have a monitor with them. And so you have the cut crew that comes through, and they cut, so I think the cleanup crew is actually coming in and
Gets it
cutting
off.
off the stumps and so there has been some of, you know, I guess instances where I've heard that they went back down the road. Maybe-
Cleanup crew says, this is not finished, come back and cut more. Gotcha.
So that may be why some of that's happening.
And really, I mean, just to reiterate everything they've already said, a lot of the trees that fell after this storm were already compromised. The limbs were already, you know, everybody knows that. And it was a lot of the trees that, you know, we were saying, I can't believe that didn't fall when the hurricane came through, and there it is. So, you know.
I've got a couple other questions. Switching gears just a little bit, on Hardin Road, you said you're waiting for the pipe to come in. How many other areas throughout the county are we waiting for pipes to come in? That's a pretty major road. And I don't know if it's been stated or not, but when EMS has to cut through, if they're coming from Bridle Creek or coming down 58 from the Wilson area, and they cut through Hardin Road, that knocks off 3 or 4 minutes of coming around Independence to get to the Mercy Room in Sparta. And that thing's been, it was one of the first ones to go when the hurricane, and it's a culvert, right?
Right. Yeah. So with Hardin Road, we actually are going back with a concrete pipe in hopes that this won't happen again. So we had to have that pipe manufactured. The others, if there is a location that we need pipe, and we have that on hand most of the time. Some of the things that, I don't think Hardin Road seems to be the only road that we have. I think it's closed now. So if we've installed pipe, I think we're waiting on, building head walls and those kind of things. So there may be minimal impacts on the traffic, but should be open.
So if it's going back with concrete, are you waiting on a little bit better weather, I guess, too, before you can, because you gotta have to pour it, or is it gonna be already?
No, it's
formed?
Yeah, it's already pre-formed, so it's being delivered. So it's
Okay, I got you. That makes sense. The other question I wanted to ask, and this has come up a lot. The crews that we have in the county now, they load up and take to designated areas to burn the brush or the wood. And we have, I'd say the majority of the citizens in this county burn firewood. Is there any way that there could have been a little more thought put into how we could recoup that firewood? And like DSS has a program where they pay for heating, and a lot of times they're buying firewood for folks. Is there any thought put into how we could conserve that and use it for firewood instead of just piling up good hardwood? And
I would have to have someone from roadside, to answer that. I know once they made the contract, you know, that was part of the contract. You know, the contractor, basically, once he cuts it, and he's doing it, you know, by cubic yard, so everything he gets, I mean, he basically owns it once he picks it up, so. Again, that's a question.
I mean, for myself, I think most of, we're super glad to have these folks in here and what they're doing, especially if they hadn't been here, like Mike said, and we got this ice storm, we'd probably all not be here tonight because we'd be digging our way out. But if we could just be, I think efficiency is a big question because we see, you know, a lot of inefficiency in this thing. And we know it's federal dollars, but at the end of the day, we pay federal tax. All of us.
Right, so, and just to say, I know we had a disposal site, and I know you all kind of know for us, use the industrial part for the site. So, you know, once we went and picked it up and we started storing it there, as far as FEMA, for to be eligible for FEMA reimbursement, once we started storing it there, we couldn't allow anybody to get in it and start taking, and actually, I think the prison had came and was getting in it and getting some, you know, and not that, you know, we didn't want them to, but we had to keep everyone out of it, you know, to be eligible for FEMA reimbursement. And I guess it's just like you said, the bureaucracy of the federal laws or what, so that we can get reimbursed. Now I know we worked with the DOC to kind of have a small disposal area there so that they could utilize them. And if we pick stuff up just randomly, I think
Right. I guess if you could send it up the chain and have them just consider some more thought, hey, we're in a heavily area here that burns wood. And the DOC was major during Helene, helping us get people out, get roads out. I mean, that was huge. So I'm glad you mentioned their involvement. But, that's all the questions I have, Mr. Chair.
I think you run into some safety and liability issues with allowing that as well. I mean, if you're hauling it to a designated disposal site and those trucks are rolling in periodically, you can't just kind of open it up to the public.
Right.
And have that come.
And I know that's always going to be the word, you know, is liability and all that. But if somebody sit down and put some thought behind it, there'd be a way to, there'd be a way to get that figured out.
So, I mean, I guess I could go back and maybe ask the question, let's just say the county had a designated area that they would like to be able to store, if it would be something where we could have a designated disposal area, but that's a question I would have to ask.
Right. I mean, some of the homeowners have had the trees cut down right in their yard, and then they weren't allowed to have the wood for firewood. If they just signed a release, you know, Virginia, whoever is not liable, and, you know, have them sign a release or something simple as that, and leave the wood on their property. Just a thought. I appreciate the conversation.
I just have one comment. I've noticed with I think you're talking about the rural rustics. I've noticed maybe if there's any way we could put some more maintenance in them for this next year, because I've noticed some probably, I don't know if that's going to be possible, some damage. I guess where they're putting down their outriggers and stabilizers and all that, they're kind of chipping up. So that just could be, I'm sure you're aware of all that, and that's why you've taken them off. But that's just one thing I noticed that may take some increased maintenance coming up. Thank you.
I just have one more. Does VDOT have someone going around like inspecting? I know you've hired a lot of these. I see a lot of young folks driving vehicles, following the crews around. Is that for VDOT purposes, or do y'all have a specific trained person that's going around inspecting these roads?
For the tree.
Yeah,
So, yeah, and this contract was, I think and again, this contract was handled out of the district roads management, but, just to my knowledge, this contract was set up to have its own oversight built in. So, in other words, they had to have monitors, they provide all the monitors and everything as well. As we started receiving some of these complaints and things, they've actually reached out to some of our VDOT personnel, and now they have some of them following them around as well. So just the next thing that I've kind of added in there is secondary safety plan. And I've listed the projects that's actually ready for construction, which in our mind, what ready for construction means is it's went through all the engineering phase, and basically, if you will, plans have been handed to the area headquarters to begin construction. So Route 603, Ripshin, they actually had started it around the time that the hurricane hit, and worked on it periodically. And so they still need to install a few entrance pipe, and it's ready for some base time. So hopefully this spring that one will be, or this summer, that one will be completed. And all three of these are kind of the same. So Route 730 Low Gap, 636 Beach Grove, and 715 Pleasant Grove. All those, while they're ready for construction, the hurricane delayed all that. So unfortunately. And then the projects that we currently have in the engineering phase, Beagle Lane, it will be fully funded July of this year, and so will Grouse Hollow and Cold Springs will be fully funded in July of next year. And so what we do, I mean, we hope to have drainage review, environmental, and a straight line diagram, basically the plan and build. And all that's going on now, so. So the secondary 6-year plan, which I know that's going to be coming up pretty soon. So I've put some numbers on here, just assuming in the previous years, if we're level funded, it would be somewhere around $630,000 that the county would receive. Currently, we have a deficit of 190, 859, and part of that is because we added Route 697 Beaver Dam last year, and it was not, we didn't have the funds to fully fund it, but they allowed us to add, we can add one road that's not fully funded. Just so you can fund it this year. So, and then we went over a little bit on Kings River. Typically, we do a pretty good job of making those estimates, and they're pretty good, and we typically save some money on these routes that we can add on the projects. However, this one, I think we had to use a little more material than in the past. Yeah, and another thing is where the hurricane hit and we weren't able to complete those other projects, so we weren't able to have some extra funding to put for that. So with that, if we're level funded at the 630, we subtract the 190, and that leaves about 439,000. I mean, obviously it's just a good guess of adding to the 6-year plan this year, which would be fiscal year 2031. So what I would like to do is just ask the county to identify at least 2 candidate routes for consideration to be added for the as a rural electric for by the end of February 28th. That'll give us some time to look at them, review them, and see if they meet the criteria to fit the rural electric concept. So I say at least 2. I mean, 4 is a good number. That way, if someone turns down, we'll have something to fall back on. Questions?
I was just thinking there's 5 of us, maybe 4 of us could, join in with Mitchell and submit one
You're
for
out.
each district.
You're out.
All 5, and you can do 5.
Well, we have 4 districts, so each of you can pick one.
And
I'll sit down.
he's covered on all of it.
Well, they gotta meet the criteria too. That's,
Yeah.
Cause if
you
we
need,
might
you need it by the end of the month. That's where
quick,
you're gonna have to start moving.
Well, and again, and we probably have a list of a few that maybe we went over, in previous years we've been asking,
You got last year for this, good.
And so I probably still have that too, so I can share it.
I remember Lost Lake Road, there was several people came into the meeting after I think we actually added them, so that may be one we'd want to consider. But I remember there were several residents here last year.
And it's, you know, it's first couple weeks in March. And the earlier we get it, the better, because I think we'll have all this done by.
Yeah, we'll set it up for next board meeting. You guys can discuss.
All right, so, and I've just added in here our annual paving and slurry seal schedule. The first page you come to is asphalt pavement. That's everything that will receive asphalt this year. I realize it's not enough. And how that works is we are, actually now I think they have it set up so we receive so many miles per year. And they tell us, basically that's statewide, and they tell us how many miles we get. Our guys, we receive a chart with condition ratings, and the ultimate goal is to have every road at 60%. That's tough. I mean, but I mean, that's what we strive for. Obviously, I think everyone here knows that we don't have every road at 60% condition rating, but that's the goal, and that's what we strive for. The next page is a slurry seal. These are routes that we get slurry seal, and you know, sometimes and you know, the slurry seal is basically to try to help extend the life of the road. I mean, you get, you know, say it's a road that's been paved for 5 years, and you can come in and slurry seal it, and you hopefully get another 5 to 7 years out of it, and that helps extend. So, and we also look at, when we do these full rustics, we're trying to add some of those on here too, because you know, if you're chits in them, and then you come in and kind of put the slurry on it, it seems that they hold up a little better too.
Is the slurry seal, is that like when you have some leftover asphalt and you just kind of go do some patchwork? Is that a different process?
Yes. Okay. So the slurry is kind of like the driveway sealant, if you will. I'll explain it.
Well, I guess my concern is Bethany Road, I think it was the last year or the year before, they had some leftover pavement or something. VDOT come out, and that road is 10 times worse now than it was prior to VDOT coming out to put down asphalt that had already gotten cold and partially hard before they dropped it off. And one of the residents on that road is an avid motorcycle rider, and if he went around one of those curves, he probably wouldn't be with us today. He was the one pointed out to me, but it's an absolute mess. And your car just goes like this up there because there's just little slots of asphalt, like somebody just took a marker and, you know, drew a design across the road.
I have to look at it and see. And it may be that it was just patched, maybe.
Yeah, it came from, I think it came from Volney, maybe. And by the time it got down here, it wouldn't stick. You know, some of it did, some of it didn't. It's still a mess. I mean, I just drove out through there about a week or so ago. But I don't know what that process is called.
I'll take a look at it and see.
And
It doesn't seem like slurry.
yeah, it's probably,
Slurry seal is kind of like, I mean, basically it's like driveway sealant, and it's got some coarse, like some small aggregate in it.
yeah. I think at one of the MRPD meetings, we talked about this. Y'all might have been at that one. I can't remember, over in Marion at that board meeting. But we talked about how this is a frequent process, I guess, when you have some leftover asphalt. I guess the key would be putting it somewhere close, because by the time it gets from Volley to here, it's lost its luster, and it's more harm than good, I guess you could say. I just want to point that out.
Anybody got anything else?
I don't know if this is the time or place, but I do, from my district, I've probably received them, even from people not from my district, but they are in the district quite a bit. A lot of complaints about Delhart Road. Yeah, so you know. Okay. Yeah, I would, I don't know if it needs patching and repairing or just it's a long road. It connects 58 to North Carolina, so a lot of people travel it.
Sent you a response
Oh, you did?
today.
Thank you. Oh, thanks. Never mind, disregard. I'll read the response I got today.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate the presentation.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Okay, this time, public comment. All right, we have one speaker signed up to talk tonight. I remind you, it's 3 minutes. That 3 minutes is all yours, Mr. Brian Billings. You state your name and address.
Brian Billings, 9877 Coleman Rock Road, Elk Creek, Virginia. I sent Steve a couple pages that has more detail than I'm gonna be able to cover in 3 minutes. I'm here tonight to challenge the river recreational partial trash fee and the logic behind it. I submitted an appeal last fall for the trash fee imposed on my property up in the Fox community, and it was subsequently denied based on the interpretation of the ordinance. 3 main points I want to cover. The fee amounts to double taxation on existing residents. So as a county resident, I'm already paying a trash fee. I'm generating a certain amount of trash per week. It doesn't matter if I'm at home or I'm at my river property, I'm generating the same amount of trash. Pick it up, take it home, put it with my household trash, away it goes. Trash pickup over there is on Thursday. I'm not going to leave it sitting on the side of the road for 4 days. I'm not adding to the cost of services. I'm taking it home and putting it out. I don't have a bit of problem with charging non-residents this trash fee, but I'm already paying a trash fee to the county. In addition, the amount is unreasonable, and we'll go through this fairly quickly, but for this analysis, let's assume that each person generates about one 30-pound bag of trash per week. The residential fee of $240 per year, that amounts to $102 and change per ton. For a river partial fee, in my case, I spent 6 nights at my river property last year. If I generate that same amount of trash, that's over $9,000 per ton. Contrast that with your multiple residential unit fee, where they're charged $240 per year for a bin pickup for up to 20 units. That's $5 per ton. So I understand bins are more economical, but it doesn't cost any more to haul away my trash from a river partial. So why should I subsidize a budget shortfall? And finally, I feel like the river properties have been singled out. There are many other similar partials in the county. There's 2 within a mile of my house in the mountain. Same setup as mine, a camper on a nice mowed lot, except that's in the mountain, not on the river. They spend the same amount of time roughly that I do at the river property, or they charge the trash fee. What about all these picnic shelters on the creek, campsites on the creek? What do? They do the same thing I do. They pick their trash up, they haul it home with them. They're not charged a trash fee. They do the same thing I do. I'm fine with charging non-residents, but as a resident, I'm already paying that fee. I'm not over the limit. If you're going to impose additional burdens on the taxpayer, even it out. Don't single me out because I have a property in a certain location, and don't charge me a higher cost per ton to get rid of it. If you got to increase fees, let's have everybody share the pain.
Thank you, Mr. Billings.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay. That's the only person that signed up to speak, so we're gonna move right along. Mutual aid agreement for law enforcement services for Grayson County with Carroll County and Grayson County and Wythe County. Did the sheriff have to step out?
He's here, I don't know where he was.
All right. If he comes back in, we'll move it back in if we're still here. Next thing, Mr. Boyer, is a resolution, Mount Rogers Planning District Regional Pre-Disaster Hazard Mitigation Plan. It's my understanding we have to pass this resolution every 5 years.
Yes, sir. It's every 5 years. It's every 5 years. If you'd like me to read the resolution, I can. But it basically is just recognizing that the county experiences natural hazards and pose threat to property. It allows us to ensure that we're capturing all our federal dollars when it comes to natural disasters and relief. And it's just our 5 year period, so it's an administrative function, but it is a resolution there.
Okay, anybody got any questions before we move for a motion?
No.
Well, this time I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution. Approve the resolution, Mount Rogers Planning District Regional Pre-Disaster Hazard Mitigation Plan.
So moved.
Got a motion, second, any discussion? Roll call vote, Mr. Anderson.
Aye.
Mr. Hash.
Aye.
Mr. Clement. Ms. Thompson.
Aye.
I'm also. Okay, now we're gonna go back to mutual aid agreements for law enforcement services. Sheriff, the floor is yours.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This mutual aid agreement, the current one has been in place for over 10 years. It's just, it's time to update it. A couple of the sheriffs, Sheriff Kent over in Carroll County has not signed, his signature's not on this old one. And neither is Sheriff Foster over in Wythe County. Standard mutual aid agreement, it outlines how we send personnel and resources to neighboring jurisdictions that need help. And same for them coming into our area. So I just need your approval and your signature, Mr. Chairman, to get this new mutual aid agreement passed.
Anybody have any question?
I got a question. Do we have that agreement with Allegheny? That's it?
Yes, we do. North Carolina passed the state law, I believe it was 2 years ago, and we do have it with Allegheny.
Allegheny, Surrey, I guess.
Just Allegheny is the only one we've got it with. And, you know, we're in close contact with them because they're a little closer, but I'm all for it.
Is it up to date too?
Yes. Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion to approve the resolution.
Yeah. Take mutual aid. So moved.
This roll call? It's not?
Nope.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Also aye. Thanks, Sheriff.
I've got one more item. It's not on the agenda. Just got off the phone with Senator Stanley. He was talking to the governor. The governor has National Guard troops he wants to deploy. Senator Stanley was going to make the call. He said they can move trees, they can open warming centers, shelters, because with this storm coming in over the weekend, we have no idea how much longer the power's going to be out. And we have took generators to elderly people on the west end of the county that don't have any heat. Everybody don't have a wood stove or are able to put it in. So I told him I thought it was a good idea. I don't know if you guys want to weigh in on that tonight, but
They were asking me to get on phone.
yeah.
He was just calling me too.
Yeah. So I told him I thought it was a good idea. They want to deploy within the next 5 hours. They want to be here by midnight and get rolling on it.
I think that's great.
What action do we need?
You don't need
I
that.
think it's over.
Just let us know.
Just-
You just let us know.
Just your blessing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank the governor for thinking of us.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, he actually called me this afternoon about 2 o'clock, said, hey, what do you need? And told him, you know, we're resilient people, but still, they have resources out there that can help, and they want to bring it. We still got 10,600 people without a power. That's about 90% of the customers in Grayson
The
County.
last 6 months have been testing the resolve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
So
we-
They're estimated to have the power on until the 16th or 17th.
From Hurricane Helene, were we able to store any resources that were brought into the county in way of generators and?
We've been, any type of medical emergencies, we were dealing with those. Obviously, we're not able to help everybody that doesn't have a wood stove or, you know, if there's not, we just don't have the resources to help everybody unless there's a medical issue that we're going to deal with. So that's what we kind of been, I think we kind of need to set a standard for this because it's a little bit of a challenge for emergency services, SO's office to respond to every individual needs here. So anyway, But yeah, we do have some.
But the generators are prioritized for medical.
I'll be glad to get with Paul, Emergency Services Coordinator, and find them a place to start. I figured, Grayson Highland schools down here, they've got generators already there, so.
They pushed out 3, I think, today and yesterday, so.
Okay.
Certainly if we have requests, we'll be willing to help with all those.
And I guess you'll just pass on to us if they're gonna do warming centers and things like that, so we can make it known to the public.
Yeah.
You're like, I guess.
Yeah.
So we see this as a coming. Are we preparing to set up the firehouse again as a central command center, or are we trying to get ahead of it, or?
With the storm coming this weekend, are you asking if we're gonna set up an
Yeah.
emergency
I mean, 'cause
operations
we're right in the
center?
middle of
Yeah.
just getting out of a storm, and I didn't know if there was a preliminary thought to.
Yeah, well, I was hoping power would get back on, some tonight and some tomorrow night. Not confident that's gonna happen, but, that was what AP's been telling us. And so, my hope was everybody would have power and we would be able to sit in our houses for a little bit. I haven't had power since 9 o'clock a couple days ago.
Yeah, me too.
So anyway, are we gonna stand up an EOC? I don't know yet. We haven't talked about that yet.
Just prepare for the worst, hope for the best. And then, if we have egg on our face and storm don't come, I'm all for having egg on. Well, not egg, it's too expensive. Something else.
So thanks, Sheriff.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
All right, moving on, board appointments.
We just so the board's aware, Roger Rose, who was just put on EDA, has to step off due to a family emergency. He's got a health issue with one of his family members, and so he had to step off. So we did get Timmy Dixon's application in. Is that right, Lana? Okay, so we need 6. We need board appointments for EDA at this point.
So since Mr. Rose is unable to finish his term, I'll have somebody hopefully by the next meeting for the Oak Creek District.
You said you'll have that next meeting?
Yeah, I didn't know about that till today.
So we really only have one application that we need to consider tonight, and that's from your district.
Yes. Mr. Dixon, has a business, Two River Outdoor Adventures. And, his wife has run a business there in the city of Galax. And, I think that he's a young man who has, started a business. His wife has, they have a son, a young family. And I think, he has a vested interest in my district, mainly around the Freeze area, to see development there. And I think he'd be a good asset. That's a young individual that's got a business that has some effort. And so I'd like to nominate him. Also, I'd like to make a recommendation or make part of my motion that would be my motion for his nomination. Also to put Mr. Derek Young into a voting position, since there will be a vacancy. That'd be 2 of them that would be opening up, and that because Mr. Young has been on the board or the EDA for some time, and from what I understand, he has always contributes with input, and therefore that'd be my nomination or motion.
Second, to make Darren a voting member and Timmy
Would it
to
be a vote?
be on the board.
Would it be a vote member now, since I guess Mr. Rose is.
Oh, well, yeah. Second.
Would that, we're in discussion now. Wouldn't that make 3 Wilson District representatives? Because we've got Gary Rasco and we've got Betsy Sharon from Wilson District, so this would be the 3rd. And I know we spent 2 or 3 meetings last year on determining our new process, and my understanding was the maximum will be 2 from each district, so it would be spread out. Am I correct in that?
There's nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
There's,
But we spent 2 meetings talking about it.
It should be in the bylaws. Which brings up another issue. We need to get this EDA figured out as far as bylaws, board appointments, and parameters as far as grants and loans and those type of things. There may have been some movement on that recently. I'm not sure. But this, I don't oppose the nomination of Mr. Dixon. I think that's a good fit. But when Mr. Young's been there, he's been giving input, like you said, for 3 years. But his wife is the EDA or Economic Development Ag. I'm not sure what the title is. I don't know if that's self-appointed title or if that's title given by this
It's a separate
board.
board, isn't it?
But she's involved in those same discussions and meetings. And I think that's a conflict when you have a husband and wife on the same board, especially, we're talking about divvying out taxpayer dollars to grow the economy. I think that's a conflict.
Well, I don't know that they're exactly under the same heading or whatever. I think they're something totally separate. And I think it would be incumbent on them, as it would any of us that sit on this board, when we are personally involved or with a matter issue or have some kind of economic interest in it, that we'd have to excuse ourselves from being part of those, any kind of vote or anything. So that's why I can't see, he's a young man that, from my understanding, works with the Farm Bureau and has good input and is a benefit to, and he's, put the time. I do think maybe we do at some time need to look at the bylaws and restructure them, but
When I have a vacancy due to the resignation of Mr. Rose, and so when I submit my applicant to represent the Elk Creek District, I'm not submitting that to be a non-voting member. So does that mean Mr. Dixon's gonna become a non-voting member after I replace the Elk Creek vacancy?
so I don't have anybody right now. So I'd like for mine to be a voting member, so.
Well, it's interesting because you said that in all of our meetings, but you're willing to give that voting member up so the non-voting member from another district can vote.
Well, I think it's important to have experience. I think experience is a valuable asset in life and whatever. I think, and even my candidate, he's, said, he'll have a learning curve. But I think, I just think he's an asset to that EDA. And if we decide we want to restructure it somehow at some time, I know that there was no limits. I haven't had anybody on there because I've been trying to find someone to replace the only member I had. So
Well, the chairman was your member that resigned.
right.
And
So that left me to have another position.
so you're advocating on one hand that you need representation, but then you're willing to forfeit that to a non-voting member. So Wilson District has 3 representatives.
I would have if it was voting member, and then Mr. Young would be able to have me input. I think if you.
Well, I think he has input already I've watched the
Mr. Chair,
videos.
Yes,
may I?
yes, please.
I would just say, I don't know how many of you all have actually been to EDA meetings or how many you have attended or watched, but Mr. Young is very frequently, and that's why I seconded the motion, he's very frequently asked for his advice, his input, and I do understand what Mike is saying, I think, is that because of Darren's experience on the board, but never having been able to vote, and yet he's one of the biggest people to put input when there are questions asked, is that this newer member may not be ready to make those calls. That's how, sitting on a board for the first time is pretty intimidating, especially when you're on the economic development. I think I understand what Mike's saying, and I agree with him 100% that Darren deserves a voting position regardless of what district he's from. But that's my opinion.
Yes, well, last year, it seems like it may have been early in the year, maybe middle of the year. We went in, we had the same issue. We was worried, well, this district has, I believe it was the Elk Creek district at that time, had three members. And we were concerned, we wanted to be spread out. So we came up with this process, and now we're just circumventing the process again after we went into closed session, talked about it for multiple meetings. And now we're just circumventing the process again. We're going to be exactly where we were. We're just switching the
It's gonna be
districts
Mount
around.
Wilson instead.
And I have no problem with Darren Young. I think he's a great member and all that, but he's from the Wilson district. We've already got 2 Wilson district representatives. So, I think we just need to have it spread out evenly for each district, because this board spends a lot of money of taxpayer dollars and gives to economic development projects. And I think it's very important to be transparent and as possible with this, and to have as equal representation as possible with this. And having 3 members of a 6-member body, or is it 7? A 7-member body is not being equal representation. That's just how I feel. So if we vote on this current slate, I'm a no.
We probably do need to also see if I don't know how we check this, but is it actually a conflict of interest to have a husband and wife?
Lindsay works for the county government, and just because her position has
She's not on the board.
agriculture economic development, she is not on the EDA board. She does not vote on the EDA. There's not a conflict of interest. And Darren was my nomination 3 years ago, and we were still having this discussion when it was a totally different board up here. And my concession was he gets on the board as a non-voting member to at some point roll on as a voting member. And it is not fair to make him serve 3 years and not be able to have a vote. Now, the reason we went from 2 in Wilson District to 3 is because you got to pick one, and you chose one from the Wilson District, and that is the newest member of the EDA. And that was last year that we did that. I hate it when we get to these board appointments, because we just go round and round and round, and there's not a conflict of interest. My nominee has never been able to vote, and I've been on this board for 40 years.
All right, can I respond?
Absolutely.
Because I did a concession as well with my nomination of Jonathan Warren. He was a non-voting member for a period of time.
And he's a voting member now, right?
No, we pulled him off so Mary could have
Oh, I
equal
didn't have it as,
representation.
yeah.
And that's how
I didn't have
Kenneth
a
got on the
representative.
board. And he was in the middle of his term. He wasn't even up to be reappointed. But I conceded that so you could have 2 members from your district.
Mhm.
If I'd known we were gonna go down this rabbit hole, I wouldn't have agreed to that, because that was an appointment at the time. As far as a conflict of interest, it is a conflict. I don't care if the person works for the county. When we go into closed session, we don't bring employees from the county in here unless it's specific to a certain issue. And the non-voting members and the ag advisory economic person, the tourism economic director, they go into closed session. I watched on the board on YouTube. I watch the meetings as frequently as I can so I can know what's going on. So I think that is a conflict.
Well, you're not supposed to see closed session.
No, I don't see it, but I see when they go in, and then I talk to other members like who was in there. So I'm well aware.
Well, how this started tonight was we needed 2 appointees.
Right.
And
I just want to make sure when I get my appointee next week that he's not all of a sudden a non-voting member. Or next meeting, because I just had a guy resign.
Can you re-say your nomination?
Yeah, and also, there's I had a planning commission position that was open.
Let's do the EDA separate. Can we do that?
What?
Can we do it separate?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, all right. So, my nomination is for, Jimmy Dixon, and I would like for him to be a voting member, and also I would like for, Mr. Young to be a voting member, given his tenure upon the board. That's one motion, and I believe it was second.
I'll hold the second.
Any more discussion?
Yeah, a little
Yeah,
bit. Or-
Yeah, I think that's a left-handed motion because you're making a motion to put your person on the board and then you're affecting other people that's on the board. And
How is it a left-handed motion when your person went on there straightway and became a voting member that you had put on there?
well, if you want
How's
to
that?
to people, one of my representatives, I didn't put on there, Bill Shepley put on there. So I only technically have one that I appointed and he just had to resign. And I forfeited my other appointment in the middle of his term so Mary could have an additional person. These things are important because this is a lot of money we're talking about. These folks are bouncing around here and spending. And for a period of time, there's not been good parameters on that. And I want to make sure, I don't care if they work for the bank, or if they're a janitor, they can make good, sound, common sense decisions. And you're tying your motion for your nomination in to affect another appointee.
Mr. Chairman, that's my motion.
I second it. And Mr. Chairman, I also say, would it be, would you all consider just asking the three Mouth Wilson appointees if one of them would be willing to be the non-voting representative? Is that unreasonable to just ask them?
So that's,
Makes sense.
I mean, I think it's the fairest thing to do. I'm tired of this.
who's the three? Gary,
Betsy,
Last
Sharon,
one.
Betsy, and who?
Darren. yeah.
Darren.
Darren. So you want to ask one of the two? If you remember last year, I asked, per your request, I asked if any of the board members would like to, not be a part of the EDA. And they all said no, they still want to serve out their terms. So I certainly can ask if they would be opposed to being a non-voting member.
Just explain to them, we have three
All
representatives
three of
from
them,
that
yeah.
district, so
Okay.
one of
So all
them,
three of them would be, want to ask one of them if they'd be a non-voting. Sure, absolutely.
Does non-voting member still get the stipend or how do we treat that?
I assume so, yeah.
The other comment I'd like to make is I've talked with Mr. Boyer a little bit about some of the way the EDA does things, and you were talking about putting some more regulations, restrictions, the way they do business into place, and I would just encourage that.
I think what will be helpful for the EDA is training and guidance and parameters for them so they understand. I don't know that some of this is new in my mind, and I've had to learn a few of these things as we've done some of these performance, as they made some decisions on dollars. I've had to understand what, from an attorney's perspective, what does that look like, and what do we need to do to ensure that the county's perspective. So I made myself a checklist on these, so I know these are the things that are going to come up. Boom, 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 timelines, all this. And so, anyway, but I agree. The more that we can help them understand what their lefts and rights are, the better decisions they make. So,
training is everything.
sure.
So maybe in the future we could discuss some parameters that we would like to
Sure.
have in place. It's got to create jobs. It's got to do this.
Some focus areas, right?
Yeah, maybe in the future on the agenda we should talk about that.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, thank you.
I like that.
Do we have to rewrite the bylaws to make it 2 per district?
It's not in there now. We discussed this. We discussed this last time. I think I sent the board an email saying, would you like to do this? Would you like to, and the board, and we debated this a few times. The board said, well, we think we can work through this. And so that's what we did. If we want to change the bylaws, we certainly can, though.
Well, I was under the understanding we had this agreement. That's the way we're going to do things moving forward, but I guess that's not the case. Maybe I misunderstood.
We're working in agreement right now, Mr. Porter's checklist that he came up with, I thought was great. Had some good parameters on it as far as, making the ones that are taking advantage of the law or the grant or whatever. Some good parameters to protect the county. And,
Would you amend your motion to keep Darren as a non-voting member? Until we get this figured out. There's no sense in, we act like this is the most coveted position in 9 counties.
Yeah, they don't even,
I mean,
it's me different. Yeah, I'll just nominate Mr. Dixon.
A second. Motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. I'm also aye. Solid waste large item pickup schedule.
Chair, one second, we still got, who else is on there?
Planning.
Planning, and anybody else besides planning?
The library.
Library.
They need one.
Yeah, if you look at your list, planning, Philip Vaughn resigned on 12/12/14. You appointee will fill the remainder of Mr. Vaughn's term, which expires 11/25. Application attached for Taylor Hyde, is that correct?
Correct. Yes, Mr. Hyde is has a fencing business. He is an active member with Freeze Fire and Rescue, very active in training in EMS, firefighting, and has a young family, very active in the community. And, found Freeze and Falls. I think he'd be a good asset for the planning commission.
So we have 2 board appointments, the Wythe Regional Library and the Planning Commission.
We have somebody for planning. Do we have anybody for, oh, we do, Sarah Osborne's with, and with, oh, yeah.
Any reason why we can't nominate both of these? Is there any, entertain a motion to accept both of the nominees, Taylor Hyde for the Planning Commission and Sarah Osborne for.
So moved.
Second.
A motion second, any discussion? All those in favor of Taylor Hyde for the Planning Commission and Sarah Osborne for the Wythe Grayson Library Board, signify by saying aye. I'm also aye. Solid waste large item pickup schedule.
All right, Mr. Chair, the board, the solid waste collection for Grayson County and including town of Freeze is in your packet. We will start this on March 17th. All the information is on there. We'll post it online. It'll be on Facebook, anywhere else on the website.
And we will advertise.
Yep.
In the paper.
Okay, and we'll advertise in the paper. Any questions about large item pickup for this year?
Public Works potential purchase.
Public Works potential purchase. All right. Okay. In September 2022, we received a community facilities program grant from USDA to purchase sanitation vehicles. September 2022. The total project was $550,000, and it's a 50-50 grant, meaning the grants for $275,000, we would have to spend $275,000. Okay, tracking. Okay. Grants, from my understanding from USDA, are rare, and so this is a good opportunity for the county to purchase a vehicle. Grayson bought a Peterbilt truck in early 2023 for roughly $305,000. That leaves $244,000 in the remaining balance of this grant. We just closed the grant portion, the first portion of the grant, and we received our check from the USDA for $152,000 just about a week ago. So we have an opportunity to still buy a truck, a sanitation truck. Public Works would like to buy a grappler truck. And we've spoken to USDA and that is acceptable to them. Again, it's 200, the cost for a grappler truck is anywhere from about 240 to 250, which is in line with what we want to spend. So the county would have to spend 122,000 and the grant would be for 122,000. I think we can accomplish this if the board is so inclined, and that would fulfill our fulfill all the money that the grants given us from the USDA. So just would like any questions, thoughts, concerns about this?
Is that your recommendation?
Yes.
Immediate action.
No. I just want to make sure you're aware, and if there's any concerns or questions about it, let me know so I can think through it.
I just want a little bit aside from that is we can just be thinking of long-term, what we're gonna do with, as far as the pickup, and I'd like to just bring my idea back again that we rotate dumpsters in each district. Put some thought into that. I don't know if it's
We put dumpsters out this week once or twice, I think, talked to Jonathan. And as you know, sometimes the problems with those dumpsters, we had them up in Wythe this week. Some of the problems are a mess that people leave with those. So,
and I think Mr. Billings brought up some good points and good arguments. Maybe we can look at that moving forward too, as far as non-resident versus resident. I don't know. I know this is a beast. This is a beast. But anyway,
understood.
Were they able to put a stop to the issue with the recycling bin in the Old Town District?
If they would, we took it up. We're gonna try put it in the back, but we took it out because we just can't.
Yeah.
All right, let's stay on track. I now need the county administrator's report.
Okay. AEP, as you know, 100% of our county's been affected by the storm. 8 structures impacted on transmission into Independence. I said they have 4 dozers, 1 excavator, 8 tree crews, which is 38 FTEs, 65 T-line FTEs, 1 helo, 1 drone. We're hoping for some restoration tonight, but we'll see about tomorrow. And as we all know, between Richard and all of us, our phones are going off because they're talking about sending the National Guard down here. So I'll get on the phone after this. If I have something tonight, I'll text you all so you know what's going on. Okay. Household hazardous waste collection. We have our advertisement. It's posted on the website and Facebook. Here it is. It is on April 5th. It's location 1 to 4 p.m. Grayson County Public Works Department. Acceptable items are everything from paint, turpentine, aerosol, motor oil, antifreeze, gasoline, batteries. So as we do this once a year, we'll have this posted and you can take a picture and put it on your individual sites. Louisville Lane, we have substantial closeout meeting was supposed to be today. It got moved due to weather. The final walkthrough is scheduled, testing is done, and accounts are being set up, so we're almost done with Louisville Lane. Questions? Mayor, anything? Yeah. Galax notified me this week that they'll be increasing the water rates in Fairview and Old Town. Again, along with inside city limits, so water rates are not getting cheaper. They actually said that to obtain, they have to get a $16 million VRA loan, and to get that loan, they have to raise the rates to a certain level. The rates are too low, particularly inside the city.
You know what percentage they're going up?
I have a guess. It's probably $2 or $3. So we're at 78, so we'll probably have to go somewhere to 82, somewhere in there, 81, 82, somewhere in there. Our budget memo is out, and we will start meeting with our department heads in the next few weeks. Obviously, you all have your budget calendars, and if you have any questions about that, certainly let us know. Went to Avenue to Wellspring and thanked them for the money that they donated to hurricane relief. They set up a subsequent meeting this Monday. I met with them and their staff this Monday. We're having discussions on how to address affordable housing in the area. They have some thoughts. I have some thoughts. I expect I'll have a plan forward in the next couple of months with them on affordable housing. All Our website training has been going on for the last week or so. Linda's really happy about that. We had the website launch confirmation meeting set for yesterday, but that didn't go into today. But we didn't have internet here at the office, so it's been hard to have. We'll set that up for next Tuesday, right, Linda? So we should have a new website coming on. Next board supervisor meeting, we'll have a wireless authority meeting, so we can brief you on Point Lookout, the land leases that are taking place on the west end, and everything wireless. We met with the governor's staff on Friday on the debris cleanup and funding activities. A lot of unknowns due to still waiting on the Secretary of Agriculture to get in place and until they flush out some of the funding issues. Good brief on VDOT here. Paul and I are having discussions now on river and emergency watershed cleanup. That contract was supposed to be signed, but it got pushed due to a couple glitches, but we should be signing that contract in the next couple of weeks for river cleanup and watershed cleanup. Tri-Area asked the EDA for some funding to open a facility in Independence, and they did, but they have pulled out of that agreement due to changes in potential funding for Tri-Area. Met with Freeze Mayor Cynthia Grant last week, I can't remember. She has a storm drainage issue and the county's going to help Freeze with that. So she's come with a quote. I think we'll have some of our relief dollars and we'll help out with that.
So with Tri-Area pulling out of that agreement, is that money unencumbered?
We unencumber that money, that's correct. Yep. Wired Road, I'm on the Wired Road. We intended to sell the Wired Road because we're losing money on the Wired Road, on those assets. But because there's federal grant dollars involved, I think we took $1 million of federal grant dollars. We cannot sell those assets. We can lease them, and so we put out a RFP for lease, and so we're looking for an ISP to sign a lease with an ISP and let them take that over. Mount Rogers Regional Partnership is our EDA. If you don't understand how this works, the state, when they take on economic development inquiries, they want to work with a regional concept. Ours is MRP. Nicole here, she's been here to brief you guys. She used to be our director there, and Nicole and the board have decided to go in different directions. And now we have an acting director. Her name's Ashlyn Shrewsbury. I met with Jack Huffman, Tim Miller about the land at the park, and that they offered to put the playground for the children with intellectual disabilities. I have another meeting on the 24th, and we're going to talk about the funding of that project. I met with Amy Adams from the Grayson Regional Library. She's excited to be here, and she sent her budget request in, so got that going. G-Gems, they went through the interview process, and they hired Justin Campbell as the new director of G-Gems, and he started a couple weeks ago, something like that. Mr. Hash, Mr. Ivy and I attended a hockey game in Wytheville, courtesy of Stephen Bear, and we found out quickly that Mr. Ivy and I are not hockey players. Met with a small company who's looking to manufacture tiny homes in our area, and I've given them some questions to think about and options, and waiting on their response. And I spent 2 separate 3-day periods in Richmond for legislative days in Vaco, meeting with our reps. I think most of you I talked to during that time period. Deb Jones, our grant writer, resigned, and I think that we found somebody else to do contract grant writing, which would be helpful for us. On March 4th, we are hosting a hiring event for AEP at the Gate Center. They want to hire somewhere between 17 and 20 remote workers in the county to work their call center. So if anybody's interested in working in a call center for AEP, they can come to our event on March 4th. And the last thing I have is for me, thanks to Alan Testerman, who is always available, always does a great job. I call him in the night when something's wrong, especially when the power's out or we have issues at the sheriff's office. And Alan just does a fantastic job for us. So if you get a chance, thank you. That's all I have, sir.
Go back to the river cleanup.
Yes, sir.
I have some conservation groups that's contacting me and things like that. Because want to know to what extent is mainly this cleanup shoreline they actually get in the water. There's a lot of campers and stuff that you know what to what extent
I
that.
don't know this answer yet. I don't know yet. They're allowing us to talk, but they're not giving us the actual contract to be able to, almost similar to this right-of-way cleanup. They'll make the decisions on the federal contract, but we're trying to provide input on areas and what we think would be most beneficial to the county.
Once we have some more on that, would you just have to share that?
Yes, sir. Of course I would. Absolutely. Yes,
Thanks,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.